don't know why it's like that. I'm bugging. This is why. And this should be the background. Hello, we are live with Miss Minda Hart. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm so excited to be speaking with you. I just did my little research and background, of course, about the work that you're doing. And I just want to commend you on everything that you're doing for Black women, for being an advocate for Black women like myself. I just want to say, I know that you are devoted to the careers of Black women. And I just want to commend you for that. We are honoring you at Black Women in Media. We're giving you your flowers now. Okay. So I just want to talk about the book. I know that you just wrote a book, The Memo. What women of color need to know. What women of color need to know to secure their seat at the table. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the book.
Let's do it.
What gave you the idea to write a book as this, and why do Black women need this book as a manual for themselves in corporate America?
Yeah, again, thank you so much for seeing me, right? And seeing me while I'm still living. So I appreciate you and Black Women in Media. I wrote the memo basically because of the pain I experienced in corporate America, right? Not being seen, I had settled into microaggressions, bias, all of the things, you just like, man, I guess this is just what the workplace is going to be, right? This is how it's going to treat us. And the more I got into my career, I said, you know what? I deserve better. Women who look like us deserve better. We're working really hard and we're just not having some of the same opportunities, not because we aren't experts in our field, but because, some people are not invested in our success the same way they are people who look like them. And so it really I thought about the memo. I started my company first in 2015. And then through that work, I realized we need a book. I'm tired of reading these career books, by white men and women telling us just work harder, just do this. And it's like, it's different for us, right? Yes. And so I wanted to be able to write this love letter to us to say, hey, I see you, sis. I know this is hard. I know nobody maybe has affirmed you and you're going in your head like, are you crazy? Are you making up these situations? And, these things are real, and that, here's a way how we continue to move forward.
That's great. I want to talk about the company. You started the company before you wrote the book. So let me know what does the company do? What does the memo do?
Yeah, so in 2015, I started the Memo Company along with my co-founder, Lauren, and we just started building career content for Black women, for women of color, to make sure that they prepare for their seat at the table. So when we get that seat, are we ready, right? Mm-hmm. Public speaking to networking, just all of the resources. And so we've just provided a site of resources and what we call career boot camps of different things on how you prepare for that seat. And through the work that we do, we're working with companies on how to create curriculum for women of color and Black women. And I realized that there was not a book talking about our experiences in the workplace. And so that's what really prompted it. It was reading Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In. And I thought, okay, I get it, Sheryl, but it's different for us, right? So that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
Do you get a lot of kickback from people, our white counterparts, thinking that we're just bugging out and we're not really experiencing this pushback in the workplace?
Yeah, it's interesting because when my book when my agent was pitching the book, there's 5 major publishers. 4 of those major publishers said these things don't happen in the workplace. These are isolated situations that, nobody wants to talk about race in the workplace. And now look at things, right? That's all. You can't get enough of it, but I did have one Seal Press Hachette book group who said, I guess there isn't this on the shelf, and let's see what happens. And so the book did become a bestseller because of us, because of Black women. And then from there, white managers, corporations are like, oh, okay, this book is also for us too, right? I'm like, yes, it's just as much for you as it is for us, because you need to understand what investing in us looks like, right? And so it's been, it's been very widely received this year, particularly during COVID-19 and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor.
Right, because of all the racial tensions going on and this invisible silver lining that we are the ones that are like feeling the how can I say, the pressure of it and it just being ignored. So I love that you're highlighting this and you're using this as your niche. I know that you have a podcast called Secure the Seat. Let's talk a little bit about it and let's talk about the concept for it.
Yeah, I know we often talk about like secure the bag, right? But sometimes in order to get the bag, you got to have the seat. So you get the seat. You know, I know we talk about a seat at the table, but having that seat can mean so many different things, right? And for me, it was like, okay, once you have the seat, what do you do next, right? So I talked to a lot of, you know, women of color and Black women about their experiences in the workplace, and even those who've left their corporate structure and built their own tables. But I think that sometimes we don't talk about the secret sauce or the thing that got us there. And so that's what I use to talk about, you know, the tangible tools on how you get the seat, how you keep the seat, and how you bring other women that look like you with you.
That's what I want to get into. So how can Black women become allies for one another? You're ally, right? But how can I become an ally for another Black woman?
Yeah, well, I mean, your platform is allyship, you know, on steroids, right? But yes, I think that's the thing, right? For so long, because not very many of us have had opportunities or had that seat, there's been this mindset, this lack mindset, right? We got to shift to that abundance mindset that there's more than enough for all of us. And we have to dismantle the old table that had one Black woman sitting at the table and say, you know what, actually, I have someone else that I want to bring that needs to be in this room. So I think two tangible things that we can do to support each other right now is speak each other's names and products in the rooms we are in, right? So say it so that people are like, oh, I didn't know about that person, right? And then the other thing is hire each other. We have opportunities. Like yes, it'd be nice if white people stepped up and did what they're supposed to do, but we also have influence and power too. And so us leveraging that and building the spirit of collaboration versus competition.
Right. And that's really a touchy thing because we feel sometimes, I heard you speaking in another interview that sometimes we're the only ones in the room. And sometimes we feel like if we bring someone else along, they might not be able to take too many of us. Yeah. So that's kind of, you know, a reason why we don't see Black women allying with other Black women or collaborating. We see it a lot more now, which is great, but we haven't seen it in the past. So you advocating, what sparked that? What sparked that? Did something happen? I want to go back and talk about your story and what sparked you to take this, you know, initiative to be this advocate for Black women? What sparked that? Did something happen in the place?
It's always something, right? Even with, you know, you think about Shonda Rhimes right now and people are talking about her and it's like, it's not the ticket. It's never just the ticket. Let's
talk about that a little bit. I love that you brought that up. I just read that. Yeah. For those of you that are on, you know, maybe you're watching later on, Shonda Rhimes, big writer for, is it ABC?
ABC, yeah.
ABC. She wanted an extra ticket for Disney. And and it wasn't even about the ticket for me. It was the comment that was made.
Yeah.
And it was so rude. And we're tired of it.
Yeah, we're tired of it because it's slick things. And again, some people will say, oh, well, she could buy a ticket. She's, you know, rich and powerful. And it's not about the ticket. It never is about the ticket. It's about everything that came before the ticket, right? The thing that's going there. And I think for us too, you know, a lot of people in the dominant majority think that they can talk to us any kind of way, or they think we should be grateful for having that seat. Like, how dare you ask for anything more? You have, in our opinion, you have exactly what you should have, probably more, right? And I think that's the dangerous part. And for me, I wasn't in a Shonda Rhimes situation, but I was in my own Disney ticket type of situation that we've all had, right? And I was experiencing a lot of racial trauma and aggression from some of my colleagues in the workplace, being the only one. And it got so bad that people would see this stuff happening in some meetings. I'd be called the Black girl when they definitely knew my name. You know, there would be people going, one colleague in particular, going behind my back and trying to sabotage projects. And at first, to your point, I was like, is this really happening? Am I making this up? You know, is this me? And then because we never want it to be racism, right? But racism kills people and it kills careers too. I mean, that's just the bottom line, unfortunately. And so in my case, it had gotten really bad. I ended up having to have a conversation with the powers that be, and they were pretty much like, yeah, we see these things happening, but we hired you because we thought you had thick skin, and that person's not going anywhere. They've been here for like 30 plus years. So if you feel like you can make this work, make it work or not. And at that point, I wasn't in a position where I could just leave and go somewhere else. But I'm like, you know what? I deserve better than this. And I just remember, longer story short, going to my car, telling myself, I just got to get to my car. Don't cry. Don't cry. Maybe many of you have been there. And in my car, when I got there, I busted into tears and I turned on the radio, and Whitney Houston's "Where Do Broken Hearts Go" come on the radio. And I said, where do broken hearts go of women of color when we can't take it anymore? And it was in that car that I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. That was in 2014, but I'm going to create space and create resources to help women who look like me so that we never have to defer our dreams to some crap like that.
It's really sad, but it's real. It's not a movie. Like, it's not television. It's real. Women are going through this. People of color are going through this. I want to ask, what advice would you give to a young Black woman coming out of college right now, just trying to figure it out, and to prepare herself for the workplace? What advice for a seat, for any seat? What advice would you give to her?
One of the things, because I didn't work with any other Black women in many of my situations, I relied heavily on like books and things. And I came across, many of you might know Audre Lorde, and she has this really, really great quote that I always would tell myself. And it says, beware of feeling like you're not good enough to deserve it. And just because these rooms you may not see yourself in there, you belong in every room you walk into, but not every room deserves to have you. And I think once we start to realize our own power and understanding what we want out of these situations, do we want the seat? Do we actually need that seat to get where we're going, right? And so really taking time with yourself to plan what you want, and then go after those things that help you get there as quickly as possible. But the other thing is, build your network, because people who are in those rooms can speak your name when you're not there and usher you in. And so success is not a solo sport. I know some of us think we can do it all by ourselves, but you're going to need another Black woman to be in your corner.
Right. So let's advocate for one another. It's so important. Bring up your friends' names that you know that are great, just like you, in those rooms. Don't feel threatened by other Black women that are just as talented as you. I love the work that you're doing. I'm going to get the book because I was like, oh, okay, I need this book. And also, what kind of guests do you have on the podcast?
Yeah, I have a little bit of all walks of life, like corporate, nonprofit, entrepreneur, but women of color who have been there, done that, and want to see everybody thrive and not just survive. And so, and I even have some global Black women as well. So I think, they're dealing with some of the same stuff we're dealing with too.
So what is one of the biggest mistakes women of color make while securing the seat? Biggest mistake?
I think not knowing our worth. Right. I think sometimes we don't negotiate opportunities. Sometimes we do still have that I'm just happy to be here moment, knowing that we can ask for what we want and have those boundaries. So I think so many of us are just happy at the table, but what would it look like to actually secure that seat?
Securing it. So I just want to thank you. We are honoring Minda Harts at the Black Women in Media Conference in November. She will be there with an array of beautiful Black women that we are giving their flowers to, that are doing the work out there. I just want to thank you for even giving us your time today. Anything else that you want to let us know that's going on in the horizons that is coming with your projects?
Yeah, well, thank you. I just want everyone watching, like right now, you might be in a situation where you're like, man, I don't know what the other side of this looks like. And in those moments for me, I didn't know, but I was able to turn my trauma into a triumph, not just for myself, but to help other women that look like us. So, always bet on you.
Always bet on you. Okay, thank you. And we will see you in November at the conference, and everybody else watching, stay tuned for Black Women in Media TV. We will have a highlight of one honoree every week. Today, Minda Harts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So we